All right, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this from. This is Cobbs with the Parlay Parlor. It is Friday, February 6th, and we are back with another NBA slate. And I'm gonna give you some props that I like, along with some data and insights that I believe support my notions. Let's have a brief recap of Thursday night before we get started. And this is what we like to see. Again, unfortunately, we are chalked of the sweep, but at least it's not due to a loss this time. Jalen Duren only plays 12 minutes in the entire game, ends up leaving in the second quarter with an injury. Lucky enough, he was ruled out during halftime. So if you took the parlay on any sports books that have first half protection, and honestly, I guess side note, I do preach to play all of these straight. I know we parlayed all of these last night. If you parlayed this on DraftKings, the parlay did hit with a slightly reduced payment. I think it went from a plus 1,000 to plus like 720, which we are still very okay with. I'm not gonna pick my nose up at that at all. Um, Other than that, across the board for the night, nothing was really in doubt. Toronto Raptors, although the spread did drop the full game from 8.5 to 7, and subsequently the first half dropped as well from 5 points to 3. I still didn't have any doubts with it. It was never really in doubt. Raptors blew a Chicago Bulls team that, again, they're so guard heavy. They're in a rebuilding process, of course, but in terms of how or what their path is to rebuilding, begs to be in question, to be honest with you. Anthony Black, the Magic blew out the Nets. It did get a little bit scary when he went to the bench in the third quarter on exactly 18. So I was worried that we were going to get hooked. Comes in third quarter, I think hits a three, and yeah, I think he hit a three or he got an assist and a bucket. But in any case, he cashed us perfectly fine. And then Stefan Castle, that was a sweat because it came out very late, just minutes before the tip off, that he was going to be coming off the bench last night. And I'm not going to lie, I had given up hope on this the second I saw that, but high octane, high energy players, I preach it. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this is why I take certain players with high utilization and just the role that they play as a facilitator. Castle, every single time he touched the court, he scored or he made sure someone scored. He definitely sent a message to the coach that please don't bench me again. Although the Spurs did win, and I'm not sure if maybe in going forward this is a plan to maybe incorporate Castle with the rotation with Keldon Johnson just to maybe maximize the scoring output. But at the same time, who cares? We got the 24 points and assist. He was at 22 for 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. And it was a relative blowout. I mean, the Mavericks did kind of make it interesting towards the end. They pulled it back within one a couple times, but then the Spurs just pulled ahead with the literal last bucket. Wemby misses a layup, and Castle gets the putback dunk. Last bucket of the game, less than 30 seconds. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this is I try to preach money management and playing these as straights. This brought back some of the degeneracy that makes you want to put up a couple parlays and that have odds that imply it should never hit, but you just feel like you're on a heater. I mean, and credit to us. I would like to say we are subsequently on a heater, especially after such a rough start to the week. Across the last 2 days, I mean, we are essentially 6-1-1. Um, Only thing that stops us from being 6-1 entirely, and the one just being a void instead of a loss, is unfortunately a 30-point blowout from the Clippers to the Cavaliers. But in any case, we're back and rocking and rolling. This is what we love to see. We have a smaller slate today. We're gonna go with 4 props again. Maybe tomorrow with more games, I'll come out with a 6 prop video. We'll probably take some more time because I do think when I give you a smaller quantity, there is an enhanced quality in those props. In any case, let's get started. We are going to go to the Miami Heat Boston Celtics game. We're going to have two props from this. I know I tend to not do too hot when I take props from the same game, but I'm going to try something different here. I'm going to try two different players from the opposing teams. First, we're going to go with Davion Mitchell, starting point guard for the Heat. Tyler Hero is still projected injured, so it's going to be the likes of Davion Mitchell. And honestly, I'm not too sure who their backup point guard is. I would assume it would probably be a Pale Larson that would probably come and rotate with him. But beyond that, 8.5 rebounds and assists for Davion Mitchell. In terms of the matchup, the Celtics are a bottom three defense to assist to the point guard position, where it's just where I think the bulk of this prop is going to come from. They are a middle of the pack. I mean, borderline top 10 defense, 2 rebounds to the point guard position. But that just kind of is due to the fact that when you have wings like Pritchard and Derek White kind of rotating around in that backcourt, they're a pretty handed defensive unit, but Davion Mitchell is a pretty handed defensive minded point guard. And it really isn't much in terms of when you look at certain point guards to play against the Celtics recently. The only outlier or connection that I would link would have been a Drew Holiday or Josh Giddey. Drew Holiday is coming back from injury. And that was his first game back in Boston, and it was a subsequent blowout. So we can maybe read into a slight narrative there. And then Josh Giddey, that's probably the closest one that you can connect, or maybe a Ryan Rollins per se. But in terms of Davion Mitchell, what supports us is most recently, now that he's taken more of a responsibility without Tyler Hero in the lineup and him being the primary ball handler facilitator in the pick and roll with Bam Adebayo and finding the likes of Andrew Wiggins and Norman Powell. We do see that in terms of recently against Boston, but this was early last season, not really much there. But when we look in terms of the minutes in the most two recent games that he's hit this, he has soared over this line. And this is you this and my no and my nuance around this play is that this is a purely usage and volume play. If we look at games, because this season Davion Mitchell was averaging around 28 minutes. If we can just push him up to just 26 minutes and beyond, because if it's not a blowout, this is what he's going to hopefully do. And we can, even if we want to bring it down to 25, just in case it is, this is still very enticing for us across the season. 73% of games, he's hit this in 75% of the last 20, 100 of the last 5. I don't like to look too much into that. That's too short. But in the last 10 games, 80% hit rate. So this shows that this isn't a line that doesn't require an out of body experience from Davion Mitchell. As long as if this is a competitive and normal game, this is well within the means of his role. I was debating taking the 3 rebounds. There's head to head, it's there, but across the season, there's just a little too much nuance in the variance. At plus 105, I couldn't be mad if you take it. But 3 rebounds when the books are willing to let you take that, to me, it just feels as if it's almost a coin flip on such a low variance number. I know maybe he's not crashing the boards. These are going to be rebounds that fall directly to him, which is why I'm perfectly fine with taking the risk with the rebounds and assist another plus money one too at 7. I just want to have that peace of mind of maybe he gets you 6 assists, and he gets the 3 rebounds. Sure, that could cash the rebounds, but that's such a volatile line against the likes of perimeter defense of Pritchard and White. And now we have Vucevic, who is surprisingly going straight into the starting lineup, which I guess is Boston's intention. He probably provides a lot more in terms of offensive output than Queta. But if we look at props madness, this is a somewhat challenging matchup, just more on the rebound side. But if we look at challenging matchups that Davion Mitchell has played this season, this is something that he does tend to do. He tends to be able to impose himself on. He's kind of like in that guard you factor like Isaiah Collier, stocky guys. Depending on the matchup, you would think they would get bodied down, but they're aggressive, and these are props that I like to take. While maybe they're not the most flashy of a player, um, as long as within the game script and the role allows, it's not as if we have to write a narrative. If it's well within what they do in an average game, and it's what they're expected to do, the only thing that kind of beats us is variance, a rough night, or a subsequent blowout, which I'm perfectly fine if that were to happen. But in terms of, even when it comes to a challenging rebounding team, this is a line that he's been able to cover multiple occasions. And we look against a team that has been, I mean, the Knicks, Pistons, Knicks through 2 times, Pistons 2 times, both matchups with the Timberwolves. So the Boston Celtics, it would be a comparative matchup. I know Miami. There's always that ongoing joke between them, Toronto, and the Bulls being kind of them, Chicago and Atlanta, sorry, being kind of the play-in trio. But still, I mean, for what it's worth, they more often than not are the team that make it out of the play-in and at least make it to that first round. Um, Credit to him, Davion Mitchell, defensive-minded guard. So for the rebounds and assist in a matchup in Miami, in a matchup in Boston, where as long as it's not a blowout, and I think it's just a 6-point spread, it's a 7-point spread, as long as this doesn't get out of control, this can perfectly play into our hands. And better yet, if Miami can stay within this, it's probably going to be due to the fact that Mitchell is able to utilize the pick and roll and run the offense, and maybe we get lucky with some defensive rebounds to get us over the line for 9 rebounds and assists. For our second prop, we're going to go over to the Boston side of the court, and we're going to take Jaylen Brown for 12.5 rebounds and assists for him. This is currently at -122. You can get it on FanDuel. It's roughly priced fairly around all the books. I can't necessarily see this going down to 10.5 or going up to 12.5. I think it's pretty set where it's at. Jaylen Brown, kind of course, taking the reins of this Boston Celtics team as Jason Tatum comes back from injury. It is listed that he's going to play as a small forward, but when we look at the lineup, I think that might just be RotoWire. It's early in the morning. I think he's going to come playing at that 4 spot, while Hauser would be essentially the small forward. But in any case, Hauser's role is just going to be in the corner, shoot some threes, maybe get a rebound if he's lucky. Jaylen Brown, like I said, he's taking the reins of this Boston Celtics team. If we look at the Heat's matchup to the power forward position, I'm expecting Jaylen Brown to probably be guarded by one of Andrew Wiggins or Davion Mitchell. So in terms of a defensive matchup, it might be a little bit daunting, but we're talking about Jaylen Brown. I mean, depending on how SGA's injury works out and Jokic and a lot of the other players and how their teams perform, I mean, MVP Jaylen Brown is not that far out of the realm of possibility. But back to the 12 rebounds assist. Jaylen Brown, we have him averaging 34 minutes a season. If we just put this in the realm of 28 minutes, this is something that he is hitting at a 55% clip across the season. If we do want to push it and nudge it up a bit, because this is a matchup in Miami and hope that he just plays maybe 32. This does go up to a 60% hit rate, 100% hit rate against Miami, 62 across the season, 90% the last 10 games. So again, this isn't an out-of-body experience of a performance we need from Jaylen Brown. I know there are instances where he does impose himself and he can see 40-point scoring nights. I don't think this is what we see from the Miami Heat, even though they are at home. I do think this is Boston's first game back from a road trip, or this might be their second game back from a road trip, but that really doesn't play too much nuance into it. If we look at small forwards and power forwards to recently play against Miami. And I thought it was interesting for although we do see that to the small forward position, which Jalen Brown naturally is, Miami is a top 10 defense to the rebounds and assists. But like I said, I think that is just a de facto notion on the lineup, and we are going to see him playing at that four spot. But in any case, even with small forwards, as hard of a matchup as Miami quote unquote are, they small forwards have cashed against them. If we look, Jalen Johnson, even Ricochet, even though that is a low threshold of a number, Corey Kispert coming off the bench, Noah Dylan Brooks, Royce O'Neal. There's a lot that I like to see here. And then while there is a smaller sample size for power forwards, I think when we look at the one outlier that can match us here, it would be Paulo Banchero. We have a guy that is not necessarily a ball hog, but he's a ball dominant power forward. Without Jason Tatum, or I guess for maybe a couple more months or a couple more weeks, as we can see. Hopefully, he does come back this season. It would be interesting to see what the Celtics team can do. It looks like that trade for Vucevic is a 1-for-1 replacement for what they had in Porzingis last season. So this is interesting. Let's see. But in terms of rebounds and assists for Jalen Brown, we look up favorable matchups. This is something that he is hidden. Maybe it is close to a coin flip, but when we look at some of these games, they are close. There is a blowout. The Nets by 14, Bucks by 15, Pacers by 18. But more recently, and I think this is where we should obviously focus our scope on. This is something that he's hitting at a very good rate, 70% in the last 10 games, 66% in the last 15 games. Again, there's the blowouts I just talked about are right there. If we see his expected minutes, he's hitting this at a 66% clip across the season. Yep, it's hitting at a lower clip, of course, but that's stretched out, I think, as we look at the role that he is playing now. Sorry about that. This is why I don't like to put too many filters. Then it starts to either push you one way, push you the other way. But if we look over the last 15 games again, very enticing in terms of what we see, in terms of assists allowed to the power forward position or forward position. When we see the potential assists that he's getting, he's averaging 9 potential assists. If we just put that there, that he gets those 9, and the potential rebounds that he gets, he's averaging 10 rebound chances. We just put that at 8. This is something that he is hitting quite consistently. Like I said, I don't see much line fluctuation when outlines are available. If you do want to take the juice and take it to 10.5, I wouldn't blame you. But my notion is, I mean, we're talking about a season average. We're talking about a season average of, yes, that is just on the mean of that 11.5, 12 rebounds and assists. But if we boil it down to more recently and head to head, yes, this is just across the line. Only thing that does stop it is, like I said, a blowout. He got 0 assists in that game. We do have rare games where he doesn't facilitate as much and he does impose himself. I hope we don't see that today. But if we look at more recent games, again, this is hitting at a very good rate. He's averaging 13 in the last 10, 13 in the last 5, roughly 12 and a half, 12 and a half in the last 20. This, like I said, it's not an out-of-body experience that we need from Jalen Brown to cash us for this. So 11.5, 12 rebounds and assists for Jalen Brown. We are halfway through the props today. If you're still here, I do appreciate you taking time out of your day. If you can put in the comments what you like from the list, what you don't like, maybe what you're looking into yourself. Like I'll always say, help me, help you, help me make us some money today. So I would appreciate some engagement. I will try to, in the coming weeks, try to get some more of a production quality done with this. Maybe some more thumbnails, see if I can get some transitions, see if I can finally sort out how I can incorporate music without it drowning out my voice. But in any case, let's continue. We are going to Minnesota, where we have the Pelicans facing off with the Timberwolves, and I am going with Yves Missi for 6 rebounds. Um, if we first look at the matchup, and I do want to explain myself here, we do have a top 3 defense in rebounds to the center position from the Timberwolves this season. My counter to that would be that Missi is going to be coming off the bench. There is a blowout risk. We are looking at a 10-point spread. But my notion is this is going to be Derek Queen facing off against Rudy Gobert. Derek Queen himself, he has a 7 rebound line. I'm not going to lie, but I can't get behind the under just because naturally I don't like unders unless it is a very enticing matchup. Derek Queen, I think this is the first time that he is facing the Timberwolves. Oh no, he has faced the Timberwolves 2 times this season. He got it in his first game, but I think this is when he was still making a kind of a splash into the NBA. Second game he's played him, he only got 4. So and it hasn't gone down. It actually has 6.5 still. But again, I don't think this is the matchup for him. I still think that Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels honestly can all pretty much handle or have a good matchup with Derek Queen. With the potential risk of a blowout here as well, there is probably going to be a lot of rotational minutes to go around. So my next notion to lean on would be the backup center, Yves Missi. He might come in directly pretty soon into the first quarter, depending on how the matchup is. If we don't see a good performance from Derek Queen, and even if not, I mean, we're still seeing that he's getting 23 minutes across the season, like 19, but most recently he is getting 21 to 23 minutes. If we do look at games that he just gets at least 20 minutes, he is hitting this at a 78% hit clip. He's gotten this in every matchup against the Timberwolves, even though they haven't played this season. I think he was injured in the other 2 games, which again, I think will probably play more credit to why Derek Queen cashed the first time. If there wasn't much, because I think Mirotic was also injured, so there was a lot lack of depth at the 5 spot. But in terms of this season, I mean, 78% clip, 80% clip, 100% of the last 5 games. When he comes off the bench, he's Missi. He has one job and one job only. Put it back in if it's an offensive rebound, or get under the rim and hopefully defend the paint. I was trying to get behind the points. It's also at 6 and at plus money. We just need 3 putbacks, and he does tend to get fouled on putbacks too, so he could definitely get 3 free throws and 2 buckets to cash us with this. There is a lot of variance in that, especially with a strong defensive team. Actually, points they are a near bottom 10 defense to the center of the position. Not gonna lie, points and rebounds at 10.5, very very enticing for Yves Missi. I hate to call audibles on videos. You can take this. For the chart, I'm going to go with the rebound straight up. I hate this is the longest pause I've taken all season, but wow, 10.5 points in rebounds is very interesting. And if this is a subsequent blowout, or if Derek Queen doesn't do too good of a job against Randall and Gobert, this is something I can easily see Missi covering. But again, let's go with the lower line. We're taking the rebounds, 6 rebounds. If you look at props madness, there's not really much to look into here. Again, high usage player. Even if we look at challenging matchups, he gets this. Favorable matchups, and quote unquote favorable matchups are what are blowouts, or the few times that the Pelicans win, or they called OKC a favorable matchup. I'm not sure if that was a game where either the likes of Holmgren or Hartenstein were injured, but if we look at what is a quote unquote challenging matchup, which I think we can all imply that the Timberwolves would be, with 3-time or 2-time defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert and the likes of Julius Randle and Gina McDaniels. This is more of a spot on Derek Queen. I just can't get behind taking an under. Yves Misi, 5.5 rebounds. You can get this for minus 113 on FanDuel. I'm pretty sure it's priced fairly across most of the books. I don't see this going up. I don't see this going down. This is well within his line. This this doesn't really live or die based on if it's a blowout. I don't want to say it's credit to us if it's a blowout because then we'll see the deeper bench of the Pelicans come out. If it's a normal game and it's well within his means, quote unquote, he doesn't need an out of body experience to get us there. I think Yves Misi gets us over the line. Let's get 5.5 rebounds. And to cap it all off, we are going to take another first half spread. Fun fact, I am undefeated. I am 2-0 now on spreads. Could have been 3-0, funny enough. 3-0 on spreads. Funny enough, because I think if you recall, I did say that I was trying to get behind the Washington plus 415 points against the Pistons. The notion was before I sided with Durin that the Pistons are on the front end of a back-to-back. They face off against the Knicks tomorrow. The spread for that game is just 1. I don't really have any thoughts on that. Besides, I think Cat is going to cook if it comes out with Jalen Duren is not going to play. I wouldn't say put the farm on Cat, but I would look a bit into Cat props. I'm not going to put it in there because of these 4 props. What I just feel better with. But I guess the ramble aside, I would have been 3-0 on spreads. Let's go with another spread. We're going to take the Portland Trailblazers minus the 3 points against the Grizzlies in the first half. You can get this at roughly minus 138. The real line is 3.5, which is on more books. I am seeing some 4.5s, honestly, but I'm okay with 3.5. It is a little bit of juice. But the idea is if you win more than you lose, I'm perfectly fine with giving a little bit of vig to the books as long as it's not an exponential amount of juice, especially when we get lucky here and there with some parlays with the injury insurance. But in any case, Portland minus 3 points against Memphis. Again, we have a Memphis team that is decimated. A lot of people are out. Trade pieces. And honestly, the hero who I would have loved to bet on if he wasn't playing, but I probably will bet on him tomorrow since it is a back-to-back for Memphis, Ty Jerome. With that being said, it's going to be Cam Spencer and friends against a Trailblazers team who is essentially only missing Denny Avia, who I think is only being rested since they themselves are on the front end of a back-to-back. 3 points, while when we look at home and away splits, it does kind of lead in the favor of Memphis. This is the Memphis that was implying John Moran and Aaron Jackson Jr. They are no longer with us or no longer with Memphis. And again, there's a decimated team. They did come out with the win against the Kings last night on Wednesday night. But let's be honest, the Kings themselves are in disarray. Not really much more to be said with that. I mean, we have a fitter Trailblazers team. They're at home. This is a spread that honestly, even if we do look at the home splits in games where they don't cover, I would probably say games that you wouldn't expect them to cover then. Toronto, Cleveland, Miami, Atlanta, New York, Houston. I would say these are all daunting matchups against the Trailblazers. Maybe the only one that probably would be disappointing was Atlanta, but at the same time, I wouldn't stick my nose up at that. I see them coming out, getting the game started, first half, get the crowd going. It's Friday night. It is a relatively late tip-off, 10 o'clock, but on that side, it would be 7 p.m. But hey, Friday night in Portland, the crowd does get wild there sometimes. I have seen in the streams the pyrotechnics and the smoke coming down. It's a great experience against out of sorts Memphis team. I have no problem taking honestly any of those lines, the minus 2.5, the minus 3.5, or the minus 4.5 for the first half. I think the Trailblazers, Drew Holiday's back in the lineup. Essentially, everybody is healthy besides Danny Avia, and even then, I think Jeremy Grant coming in facilitates for other people. Yes, you do have a lot of output taken out with Danny Avia out. He can be a ball hog sometimes, especially in matchups like this where Trailblazers should win this straight up. I mean, the spread itself, 7 point spread. I mean, I would be surprised. You can probably take the full game spread as well. Again, I am 3-0 in spreads. Asterisk to that officially 2-0, but I'll give myself the 3-0. I just talked myself out of that Washington spread. Trailblazers minus the 3 points. Yes, they have had a topsy turvy start to their season. Injuries on games where they really should have won. They've lost. Meanwhile, Grizzlies full and well in a rebuilding phase, especially after a game they shouldn't. I mean, and I won't say they shouldn't have won, but again, Sacramento. I mean, they did everything in their power to give it to Sacramento. Sacramento just again, it's just they're just out of sorts. The main cog or utilization piece from that, Ty Jerome is out. With that being said, I just do not see enough output from the likes of Prosper, G.G. Jackson, Cedric Howard, and Cam Spencer and Jalen Wales to overcome this Trailblazers team at home. Minus the 3 points. You can get this for minus 130. With that being said, this is Cobbs with the Parlay Parlor. If you're still here after 30 minutes, I do appreciate it. Listen to me ramble. Like I said, right now, until we get some more traction, this does just tend to be more of me keeping accountability for myself, at least log in everything that I play. Strong night yesterday, 3-1. Let's hopefully go for another 3-1 night. If there is a void, I'll be okay with that. But I just want to sweep. We do want to hit that big parlay. But like I'll always say, please play these as straights. We are still very much in the profit. We are now 11-8 for the week, which has us back in the green after a week of last week when we went 4-18. There is going to be some variance. There'll be some down days. Hopefully, if we can just cluster those down days to just 2 or 3 in a row, 2 in a row. Let me not say 3 in a row. It's just 2 bad days in a row. It was Sunday, Monday. Actually Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Let's be honest. We had 3 bad days in a row. But if we can cluster them and win more than you lose, you will be in the green. Last night was good. Hopefully, it's going to be a good day. I hope you have a good day. Be blessed. Gamble responsibly. Gamble what you're willing to lose. And may the odds be always in our favor. Peace out.